For those who use the Panasonic S Series lineup of cameras, we have an exciting review for you guys today. We're having a look at the S85mm F1.8 lens, which is part of their compact F1.8 prime lens series. Now this is the fourth lens in the lineup and is due to arrive in January 2021, and we're awesomely privileged to have a quick look at it before it drops next month. So without further ado, let's see what this baby can do. So to test the Panasonic S85mm 1.8 today, we're pairing it with the Panasonic S5, which is basically a slimmed down S1, still has a 24.2 megapixel full frame sensor, does 4K video up to 60 frames per second, and has all of those Lumix features such as eye autofocus and high res mode. Now, the lens itself, the 85 1.8, what would you use this lens for? Firstly, portraits is an obvious given. It's a 85mm prime, which means that you're gonna get a tighter field of view, but also with the acts of compression and the ability to open up to f1.8, you're gonna get some awesome bokeh out of it. On top of that, it is pretty decent for wildlife. If you're out in a run and gun situation and you do see a bird fly by, it does have a tight enough field of view for you to get that. But obviously it's not gonna be as good as a telephoto lens. And finally, for those who do wedding photography or street photography and need a really fast prime lens that has a decent focal length, the 85mm will suit that purpose. So now we're going to look over the exterior features of the Panasonic 85mm 1.8. So first thing you'll notice, once I take off this lens hood, the lens is super compact. It's not only lightweight, probably weighs around the same as a Canon 50mm 1.8 STM, making it really easy for you to carry around everywhere. But also don't let that lightweight construction fool you because it is quite durable. It is moisture and dust resistant because of its mag alloy construction. On top of that as well, you can see that it does have quite a large focus ring, which is really good for any videographer or photographer that likes using manual focus. The ring has a nice resistance to it, and because of its width, I can imagine it being really favored for anyone who does run and gun photography or video stuff. On the side as well, you do have a autofocus and manual focus switch, a standard, a quick little switch, and you can use the ring manually and back to auto. And that's all there really is on the external of the lens. I'm really impressed with the size of it for one, and how light it is. And for anyone that likes using 1.8 lenses and likes carrying around their nifty 50s or their short 35mm 1.8s, this is a great addition. And especially for a lens of this focal length, to see it this small is really impressive. And now to quickly go over the internal features of the lens. First of all, it's constructed in a 9 rounded blade aperture diaphragm with 2 low dispersion elements. And if you're familiar with how well that Panasonic construct their S series lenses, any effects of distortion, ghosting, flaring is kept to a minimum. So using this lens, I'm fairly confident it will be quite good. So we'll see how it performs in the samples coming up later. Secondly as well, in terms of the autofocus, it does have a linear autofocus motor, meaning it's super silent. There's minimal focus breathing as well, and it's quite fast. You do have a minimum focus of 80 centimeters as expected for a lens of this focal length. So if you're thinking of taking photos up close, you're gonna have to stand a little bit further than normal. So remember when I was talking about it raining? Well, it started to rain, so we're gonna do these samples real quick. First off, I'm gonna test the manual focus, just to show you guys where 80 centimeters is in comparison to this rock. Okay, so I've set it now to the minimum focus distance whilst my back is getting drenched by the rain. And about, hold on, about, this is an 80 centimeters. I've totally not set this to 80. Why have I set this to? Hold on. Okay, so here I don't get focus. Here I do get focus. So this is how far back you have to stand from the subject. And I'm getting wet. Also, some other cool things about the focus as well. You can adjust the linear control and the focus throw as well. So if there is a certain range that you like to work with in manual focus, you can set those parameters, which is quite neat. We're testing the dust and moisture resistance now as I'm getting wet. but if you can see there's ducks there, I'm going to do some quick samples. So far, I really like that this lens is not only lightweight, but because the Panasonic S5 is also lightweight, this honestly feels like nothing. This probably feels the same weight as me just holding a Panasonic S1 body by itself. Actually, this is probably even lighter than that. But anyway, we're going to test how it performs in this terrible weather for one, and see how fast the autofocus really is. I've also got it set to animal detection too, so hopefully we should get some awesome shots of these ducks in the rain. Oh yeah, killing it. The focus is great. So as you saw earlier when we were shooting out in the ducks, the focus works so well in the Panasonic 85mm. Pairing that with the S5's 225 AF point system, shots were super snappy and the animal detect helped heaps with nailing those photos of the ducks. So what we're going to do now is test how well this lens works for portraits, as most people will be using this lens for portraits. And so without further ado, we're going to test how well this lens works with eye autofocus. And we're going to do that in two ways. Firstly, in photography and continuous video in the human detection autofocus mode. So I'm going to use Josh as my subject in a moment and see how well that performs.
What does the background look like?
All I can see is trees and it looks pretty good. I think it'll look better this way because there's more trees, more things to distinguish. Wow, the eye autofocus is very snappy. It's basically instant, even if you're moving up and being annoying right now. All right, talking about the Panasonic S5 eye autofocus performance after that test. In photography, works mint. No matter where Josh moved, as long as he was in the minimum focus distance, it would snap onto him, no matter if he was far away or close. In photos, it works a peach. In video, it's okay. So it worked well for some scenarios. We had in a couple clips where it seemed to be working pretty well, but for some reason there's some inconsistencies. Even if Josh was moving a little bit slower back or forward, it would throw it off the focus a little bit, but that might be more so the camera's autofocus performance more so than the lens. So let us know your thoughts and let us know if you've had experience with the 85mm and the camera in eye autofocus mode, continuous video human tracking specifically. Now to talk about the overall image samples, and we hope you like ducks because I took a lot of photos of ducks. So in terms of the actual images themselves, they look fantastic. And honestly, I would not expect less from a Panasonic S lens. Images looked really sharp. The bokeh is really pretty good. It's quite smooth, it's quite round, and it's what you expect from like a standard 1.8 prime lens. It's obviously not a super premium 85mm lens. For an 85mm 1.8, it works really well. So you're gonna get some pretty cool portrait shots out of that anyway, as you see in these samples too, of the photos I took of Josh. The bokeh looks pretty good. There's a lot of separation from the background, and overall the lens just looks quite sharp and vibrant. So I really rate the lens, especially for its compact form factor, autofocus speed, as well in photos, and just how well the images look edge to edge, as well as the bokeh performance. So with the 85mm itself, a couple other advantages that I see that I really like about this lens is because it's so light and well balanced with the S5 or even with the other S series cameras. I can imagine this being really handy on a gimbal. If you want to balance this camera and lens setup on a gimbal, it'll work quite well. And overall, as a full package, number one, it's lightweight and compact, so it's really easy for you to take with you on your trips when we can travel again. But on your professional jobs as well, it doesn't weigh a ton, and the image quality from it is really good, and the autofocus is fast and snappy. So all in all, for a price point of just under $1,000 Australian for a really high quality 85mm 1.8, I think this is a fantastic lens, especially at its price point. It's good value, super sharp, and really nothing more you can ask from a lens. If you have any questions on the Panasonic S 85mm 1.8, pop them in the comments below or drop into our store on George Street in Sydney CBD to speak to one of our Lumix specialists. Follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and our blog, which links to those are in our description below if you want to stay up to date with our latest events, promotions, giveaways, and basically everything that's happening in store. And finally, as always, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest videos as we upload videos weekly.